Hello, humans. Welcome to my channel. You probably clicked on this video because you like dolls, and therefore I assume you're aware of the doll line called Monster High. I remember when they were first released. I wish they were released when I was still a kid. At the time, I was interested in toys and especially dolls, but I was kinda embarrassed about it. Every time I passed the toy section, I would take a quick glimpse at it. But I would never stop and actually look at the toys for a longer time because I was just too embarrassed. But then Monster High was released and I couldn't help myself. I thought to myself, I need to have at least one of these dolls, no matter how embarrassed I am about it. That one doll that I wanted to get was Venus McFlytrap because she is, in fact, my favorite Monster High doll from the first generation. If I had to get rid of all my Monster High doll and I only could keep one, Venus McFlytrap would definitely be the one that I would keep. I also really like Gen 3 Venus McFlytrap. And I also like that they make her, I think it's called black coated. What I mean by that is that if she was human, she probably would be black. Because I like Venus from both generations, I like to imagine that Generation 1 characters are actually the older sister to Generation 3 characters. I wish Mattel would have done it that way, but I understand why they didn't do it. It probably would be a marketing nightmare to have to come up with new names for the newer generation. Since Venus McFlytrap is my favorite Monster High doll and I'm capable of making my own dolls, I decided it would be a good idea to make my own version of her. And no, I'm not planning to make this a series. I know Moonlight Jewel has an entire series where she redesigned all the Monster High characters, but I won't do it because I don't have any ideas for the other characters. Except for Rochelle Goyle, who I think would look really good in some gothic Lolita fashion. Either completely black or mainly pastel colors with black accents. But unfortunately my sewing skills aren't good enough for me to be able to, make such a complicated outfit. Anyways, let's get started. So I made her this concept art, but I didn't completely follow it, mainly because I ordered a fabric and it didn't arrive that time, and because of that I kinda had to change my plans. I also didn't have the right color vinyl for her, the graffiti design on her pants, and that also is like the reason why I didn't follow the concept art completely. I decided to use my muscular body type for Venus McFlytrap because have you seen Venus Gen 3 doll? That girl does not skip leg day. I also really like that body. So I also don't have to sculpt a new body, but I still have to sculpt a new face and some new hands. I wanted her to have a big nose and some big lips, and I obviously have to also give her teeth. I made a mistake with her teeth because the ones that are down should have been up and the one that is up should have been down. But it's not so bad because you cannot really tell on the actual doll. I gave her some long curved nails and I actually wanted to make them longer, but I was scared that it would be difficult to remove them from the support after printing. I once again needed to mix a custom resin color, and I used this clear resin and white resin to make the skin tone for Venus. I was glad that I didn't need the entire white bottle because I needed this resin color to print other accessories. I didn't watch any episode of the new Monster High show, so I'm not 100% sure if this outfit that I designed for her would be an outfit that Venus actually would wear. And I'm also not sure if she would actually wear gold accessories because I always see her wearing silver ones, but oh well, this is the design I'm going with. I used some alcohol ink to try to color the resin color into a more yellowish green rather than this turquoise green that it is, but I didn't see any change in color. So after I was done printing the face, I decided to dust on some yellow pastel color in order to make the green more yellowish. I use a dark green to shade her face. I put some pink pastel color on her lips, but that was unnecessary because I mainly painted them with watercolor pencils. I also brushed on some gold micro glitters. I hope that the gold micro glitter further helps the green to look more yellowish. I used a watercolor pencil to give her this purple to pink gradient lip. When it came to her eyes, this time I didn't stress too much about symmetry. I just simply wanted to enjoy painting a face up. I technically wanted to make a concept art for her eye makeup, but I decided to not do that, which led to the makeup looking very simple. Just like her Gen 3 doll, she simply has a yellow to pink gradient eyeshadow. By the way, do you actually like Gen 3? I think a lot of people kinda miss the more darker colors of the first generation. I think there are certain things I like about the first generation and other things that I like about the third generation. For example, one thing I like about the first generation is definitely the different facial structure that are very unique. They are not this stereotypical cutesy faces. Some of them have very angular faces, which is very unusual for dolls. Which isn't the case for Gen 3, who all of them seem to have very much cutesy round faces. But on the other hand, they all have different body types, which I like about the third generation more than the first one. Though I have to say, I really don't like a Gen 3 Laguna Blue, who's pink now. I hate this pink color. I don't know, I feel like this color doesn't work for her. I mean, she looks like they cooked her. It doesn't help that this pink is the same color as cooked salmon. She has this blue gradient on her legs, but that doesn't help her case. She definitely looks like they dunked her head first into cooking oil. Okay, I shouldn't be mean. I think that there are a lot of people who probably like this doll. I glued on some eyelashes, but unfortunately the outer eyelashes fell off and I didn't put them back on. I thought it wasn't necessary. She looked good without them, so I didn't see the reason why I should glue them back on. I made her some eyes. I usually don't include making the eyes into my videos because I think it's boring, but this time I did. I flash cured these eyes and then transported them to my UV curing station, the same one that I used for my resin prints. That's because the nail art lamp that I usually use died. Oh, look what she looks like with her eyes inserted. She's serving face, as the young people would say. Now let's make her nails. I sanded her hands and then painted the nails with a very neon pink. And then I picked out all the nail art stuff that I own. And I glued them onto the nails with some UV resin. I also glued on a nose piercing onto her nose, but it fell off later and I had to stick it back on with some UV resin. Now let's make her wig. I tried to dye an elastic band green with alcohol ink, but every time when I washed the elastic band it would turn blue instead. So I used my Copic marker instead, but even that green faded after washing it. On my last video, commenter Gigi Gemini, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, was nice enough to give me the tip to use a styrofoam head to prevent the wig cap from shrinking. I used to have a styrofoam ball that wasn't the same size as the doll's head, but I don't know where I put it, so I had to make one. I used aluminum foil and kitchen paper and cling film to make this wig form. With this form I was able to pin the wig cap in place, but unfortunately even this wig was still somewhat of a fail. Not somewhat, it was a fail. I run a bit into a problem. Every time when I make a lace front wig, I use this lace front fabric. I literally search for it by searching for lace front fabric on Amazon. This fabric is very stiff and so far I have used it for all of my wigs, but I run a bit into a problem. You might have noticed this, but Venus McFlytrap is green. And usually lace front fabric comes in human skin tones. And you might be surprised to hear this, but humans usually do not have a green skin tone. So I couldn't use the fabric that I usually use for this wig. So I decided to use a green tulle fabric instead. But this fabric is very flimsy. And I thought to myself, maybe I should double the layers to make the fabric more stiff. Very smart idea. So naturally, I decided to not do that. And that obviously caused problems later on. I proceed to do the wig how I usually make them. I marked where I wanted to root the hair in on the wig. I rooted the entire front row and actually the plan was to root the entire wig, but I got a bit lazy. So I decided to pre-braid some of the braids and then sew them onto the wig, which I kinda regret doing because it looks stupid. The rest of her hair I made with hair wreath. By the way, I still use the method I learned from Delightful's video to make these hair wreaths. I just never show the process because when I make them they always look stupid and you don't need to see that. After I was done making the wig, I realized something. That wig was so heavy and it didn't want to stay on the doll's head. Not even Velcro could have saved that. I knew it would not be possible. I had to do something else to make this wig stay on this head. I had no other choice but to hot glue it directly onto the head bag in order to make the wig stay on her head. What a massive fail. However, I was still surprised that she looked so good in the wig, all things considered. She looked so cute. She was still serving face, as the young people were saying. Now that her wig is done, I can finally draw on her baby hair. I moved on to making her fishnet top. I used this top that I made for Alicia and made a pattern, but I didn't really needed it. So Alicia had to be topless for a moment for no good reason. Oops. In order to make the sleeves, I glued the sleeves onto a piece of paper in hopes that would make sewing them easier. I sewed 2 lines and I cut it in the middle. I hand sewed the sleeve onto the top with a pink thread because I thought it might look cool, this handmade look, but I think it looks kinda stupid and I should have used black instead, but I didn't have any black thread left anymore. I cut a hole there where I attached the sleeve so her arm can actually go through the sleeve. Her top was pretty easy to make. The next thing I made was her pants. I used this baggy pants that I made before to make a pattern. I know what you're thinking. If you made these pants before, shouldn't you already have patterns? Why are you remaking them? Listen, I'm very messy. I have no idea where I put these patterns. I might have thrown them away accidentally. I traced these patterns that I just made onto this light blue denim fabric. I cut all the pieces out and then I decided to design the graffiti logo that will go onto her pants. I did this in Procreate and later moved on to a vector graphic program. I never used this program, so it took me a moment to figure out how you use it. I had to transform this design into a vector graphic because I want to use it on my new machine that I got for my birthday. It's a Cricut Joy machine, and I will use this machine to cut out the design so I can iron it on later onto the pants. At first I wasn't sure if I should iron it on after I was done sewing the pants or before. And I decided it makes more sense to do it before because if I make a mistake I can just recut the piece instead of having to make the pants again. I used this beautiful glittery transfer vinyl that came with the Cricut Joy kit. I sewed the pants together. I hand sewed a snap button onto the pants. Yeah, no, it looks ugly. You won't see this part, so ignore it. I also hand sewed a zipper onto the pants. The logo that I made for her, I think I made it too small, so I decided to give her some flowers to fill in the space on the pants. And then I was done with the pants, and they look so Y2K, don't you think? They are giving Barbie. I made her this accessory, I don't know what to call it. I would call it a necklace, but it will not go on her neck. It will go on her hip, so a hipless? I don't know. So here's where I deviate more from my concept art. In her concept art, she has this see-through tube top, but I decided to not make it, and because of it, I wanted the bikini top to look more interesting. This is why I decided to use this yellow transfer vinyl and iron it onto some fabric. At first I ironed it onto the good side, but the flowers were so visible that I decided to then iron it on the other side, because the flowers were then less visible. And with that, her bikini top was done. I made her a cropped, simple sweatshirt. One of the sleeves is meant to hang off her shoulder, and I cut the other sleeve because I will lace it up. I only had a couple of eyelets left that were still in gold, and I accidentally ruined one of them, so I had to substitute them with two silver ones. I laced the sleeve up with this pink lace. I printed out some shoe bases with teeth, of course. And yeah, you see that right. I accidentally printed out two left one because I forgot to mirror one of them. I also printed some earrings, but I didn't use them at the end. I made a pattern from the shoe base to make the cardboard sole later. I made the toe part of the shoe different this time, but I don't really like this method. The toe part of the shoe just looks really stupid, and I wish I used my usual method. I used this holographic yellow fabric, the same fabric I used for Alicia's shoes. I can't really explain it, but I just like the look that this fabric gave off to the shoes that I made for Alicia. But this time this fabric will be in the inside instead of the outside. This time I used a lot of hot glue, and I think the next time I also will use hot glue because it made it so much easier making these shoes. Usually I don't trust hot glue, but in this case it worked out pretty well. This time I thought it didn't really need it, but I still put some UV resin onto the seam for good measure. I made her a necklace with this key charm. I glued on some earrings with UV resin. And I put some hair accessories into her hair. I also made this, I don't know what to call it, sash? that will go around her hip. And with that, I was finally done with the doll. I do like this doll very much, but I'm still kinda disappointed. Like, I like the outfit and all, but she doesn't really feel like Venus McFlytrap, you know? I think my concept art was better at conveying Venus McFlytrap, you know? I mean, when you look at her, I don't think that people will recognize her as a plant monster. I think she is missing this, you know, plant details in her outfit. And because of that, I think she doesn't really feel like Venus McFlytrap. Maybe she fused with Claudine again. I think the other problems are also the neon colors. Like, Venus is very vibrant in her color, but not necessarily neon. Like, neon isn't really... Like, neon colors aren't really colors you would associate with nature. I think for her hair, I should have chosen a different color of green. I think this green is a bit too yellowish and too neon. I feel like I would love this doll so much more if it wasn't Venus McFlytrap. But she's still amazing and I really do love her. I usually don't make an outro, but I still want to thank everyone for watching.